Hi guys, welcome back. We all had a lunch, had a nice cup of tea. Oh, I could do with a cup of tea. I might go and do that in a minute. Now, we've had a really beautiful morning, heard from some amazing experts about how to improve our lives, sort of in a nutshell. But of course, we can't ignore the fact that we have got this cost of living crisis, a phrase that sort of I think we'll probably be sick of hearing about soon. But also we're just coming to the end of National Hygiene Week as well. So this next session is something where we turn our thoughts to the fact that everyone deserves to feel clean. And we're going to hear from some speakers from the Hygiene Bank. So a really important session, this one. So I'd like to introduce onto the stage Ruth Brock, who is CEO of the Hygiene Bank. If you'd like to, do you want to sit down? Does that
yes,
feel comfortable? Yeah,
thank you.
And take a seat. Lizzy Hall, who is the founder of the Hygiene Bank. And we also have Emma Thomas, who is project coordinator for Medway for the Hygiene Bank. So thank you very much, ladies. I'm going to actually leave them to it. They don't need me, but I will come back for a Q&A. So do think of any questions that you want to ask. So thank you very much, ladies. Can we have a warm welcome, please?
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for taking the time to come to this session. I'm Ruth, and I'm Chief Executive of the Hygiene Bank with Lizzy and Emma. We are so delighted to be here. Very, very briefly, we are the Hygiene Bank, the charity that is working to eliminate hygiene poverty in the UK. And that means that our vision is that everybody in this country will have access to the essential products that most of us get to take for granted, that everybody will be able to have, the toothpaste and the toothbrushes, the deodorants, the laundry detergent, that we just need to live our lives. But sadly, that isn't the reality for a huge number of people. So we've got here a little video to tell you a bit more.
Deserves to feel clean. Keeping clean should not be a luxury. But for 3.1 million adults in the UK, it is. Hygiene poverty is real. Without access to the products we need, life looks and feels very different. Because hygiene poverty affects mental health. 50% of people experiencing hygiene poverty say they feel anxious or depressed. 4 in 5 said they were too embarrassed to ask for help. Hygiene poverty impacts family life. 37% said their children's health had been negatively affected. Hygiene poverty traps people in a cycle. 1 in 8 have avoided going to work. Hygiene poverty is simply unjust. The Hygiene Bank believes that everyone deserves to feel clean, and that accessing basics like shampoo, deodorant and toothpaste is key to anyone's health and well-being. We've delivered over 1,000 tons of products to those of us in need, but we've only scratched the surface of this hidden crisis. Keeping clean is not a luxury. Keeping clean is a right. Volunteer, donate, join our movement today. Everyone deserves to feel clean.
So in a couple of minutes, I'm going to ask Lizzy to tell us a bit more about how and why the charity was founded, and ask Emma to tell us a little bit more about just one of our 170 community projects that are working to end hygiene poverty. But before I do that, I just want to take you through a little bit of research that we published this week. Now, we worked with YouGov and supported by Boots, and we put together a research report which for the first time tells us about the incidence and the impact of hygiene poverty in the UK. And shockingly, we have found that hygiene poverty is increasing. It is widespread, and it is disproportionately affecting the most vulnerable people in our society. So we now know that there are 3.1 million adults living with hygiene poverty. That's 3.1 million people, just like you and I, who simply cannot afford to access the basics: toothpaste, toothbrush, shampoo, hair gel, detergent, deodorant, the things that we just need to live our lives. It is affecting 21%, 1 in 5 of people living with a disability or long-term health condition, unsurprisingly disproportionately impacting those from low-income households and young people, those aged 18 to 34. You're twice as likely to experience hygiene poverty if you're from an ethnic minority, and it affects 1 in 20 adults who are working. And it's simply unjust, because we believe that everybody deserves to feel clean. So the numbers are pretty shocking, but it's also the terrible impact that we need to be talking about more. 50% of people experiencing hygiene poverty tell us they feel anxious or depressed. And it's that sort of impact on people's everyday lives, their ability to participate in society. As you can see, over 1/3 of people avoiding going to a social event, avoiding seeing family and friends, feeling lonely or isolated, and feeling like their health has been impacted. And 50% of people who are experiencing hygiene poverty are too embarrassed and ashamed to ask for help. One of our participants told us, "I avoided all social contact. I wouldn't even answer my phone. I tried to be last at the nursery drop-off to avoid other mums." So this is really stymieing and limiting people's ability just to go about their everyday lives. What does this mean for the cycle of poverty? Well, we've sort of found that hygiene poverty is uniquely oppressive compared to food and fuel poverty that we're all talking about normally. We're not talking about hygiene poverty at the moment. And not only is it fueling the mental health crisis, as I've just touched on, it's also blocking those routes out of poverty. So as you can see, 12% of the people we spoke to had avoided going to work. 13% had not gone to a job interview because of hygiene poverty. 16% of 18 to 24-year-olds experiencing it, not going to college or university. So you can see that it's stopping people finding the routes that they have open to them to get out of their difficult situations. And it's also the impact that it has on sort of people's self-esteem. Somebody told us, "I feel worthless. I can't prepare for a job. I don't think I'll ever be able to get out or have the confidence to get back to normal life." And as you would expect, those 3.1 million adults that we've spoken about, many of them have families, and the impact on family life is horrendous. It is simply limiting children's life chances. As you can see again from the statistics, children who aren't able to participate in hobbies, children whose confidence is being negatively impacted, mental health, physical health, how well children are participating in school. 41% of parents who are experiencing hygiene poverty say that their children's mental health has been impacted. So you can see that this cycle is now continuing down the generations. And as I've already said, this is a very particular poverty. It's a poverty that means people find it incredibly difficult to ask for help because of the shame and the embarrassment they feel. As you can see, 4 in 5 people experiencing it feel judged, and that is stopping them getting the support they need. One of the participants, as you can see in the bubble there, says, "Asking for things is just embarrassing and shameful, especially as I've got kids. I brought them into the world and they should have the products they need to live by." But the Hygiene Bank is here to help, and we are here to be the voices of people who feel that they can't yet speak out. We have no shame in asking for your help. This is National Hygiene Week, and we want to do 3 things. We want to raise awareness, because compared to food and fuel poverty, this is the poverty that nobody is talking about yet. We want to build a grassroots movement, and Emma is going to tell you a lot more about what that really looks like. Anybody can donate to us, can donate product to us, can become a volunteer for us to try and put this problem right in our communities across the country. And finally, we want to build a coalition of people who can help. We want to bring together charities and policymakers, businesses, local communities, individuals to work out how to end hygiene poverty for good. Because this is a hidden crisis, but it isn't a crisis that should exist, and it should be a crisis of the past. So, I'm delighted now to bring in these two people on the panel with me. Lizzy, who had the genius idea to found the Hygiene Bank just 4 years ago and can tell you all about how it's grown. And Emma, who is one of the incredible 550 volunteers we have across the country who are working so hard in their local communities. So, Lizzy, why don't you kick off and tell us about how you founded the Hygiene Bank and why?
Well, I didn't really intend to start a charity. 4 years ago, I watched a Ken Loach film called I, Daniel Blake. I don't know if anybody's seen it. And in it, you see a mum go to a food bank and she asks for period products and they don't have any. And then later in the film, you see her shoplifting and she's caught shoplifting. And in her bag, they find period products, Bic razors and deodorant. And it really got me thinking that if you can't afford food, then you can't afford some of these basic things. And I'd never made that connection before. You hear a lot about food banks, but I'd never really thought about what it means to be able to present yourself, whether it's a social situation, work. If you didn't have deodorant, if you couldn't wash your hair, if you didn't have period products, if you didn't have if you're a guy and you wanted to shave and you needed to shave before an interview, but you couldn't afford those products. And I wasn't quite sure how sensationalist the film was. So I went down to my own local food bank, who corroborated that, yes, they don't really get these products. Food banks, on the whole, get food. So I sent a WhatsApp just to friends and family saying, I'm going to collect some products. If you want to bring them to the house, I'm going to take them to the food bank. And it grew from there. I started a social media account. I went down to my local leisure centre and said, can I put up a poster and a collection box? And it really went from there. People saw it on social media, and then people started to engage with me and say, I can see that this would really work where I live. How do I do this? So I kind of created a toolkit of, this is how you set up a project. We're not like a food bank in that we don't give products to people directly. What we do is we work with all the other, what we call frontline organisations within a local community. So we work with the food banks, with the Women's Refuge, with social services, with schools, and we give the products to them, and they in turn can give it to the people that they are supporting. And it just grew. It grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. And then I was very lucky, I suppose. There's an organisation called Women of the Year, which has been going since 1955, that honours and celebrates women in all areas, so from business to technology to community. It doesn't really matter. Sort of women are celebrated at this thing. And this event has sponsors. And one of the sponsors in 2019 was Boots. And so their wellness category, or rather their Woman of the Year category, was a wellness warrior. I was nominated and I won, which meant that Boots suddenly were aware of us and suddenly partnered with us and gave us a whole new platform of not only awareness, but access to product. So suddenly we weren't just getting product from citizens in the street in donation boxes. Suddenly we were getting pallets and pallets of product, which meant that we could reach that many more people. And over the last 4 years, it's just grown and grown. And now we're a national charity. We've got, I think, 170 projects around the country, of which Emma runs one of them. It's all voluntary. It's all a voluntary basis, and it very much is based around the concept of the Hygiene Bank is a community supporting its own community. And our ethos is very much that there's times in our life when we need support and times in our life when we can give support. That might be practical, that might be I need deodorant, or that might be emotional support. What we do at the Hygiene Bank is what we're saying is, as volunteers, there's this need in our local community, and at this time I can help and support that, either by giving my time or by donating a product. And it's that kind of quite cliched concept of you can't change the world, but really with what we do, you can change the world for one person. You know, the transformative experience of giving a bottle of deodorant to a teenager that can't access it, it can be really quite transformational. You know, we're here at the Clean and Tidy show, and it's very much about household cleaning, which in itself is a complete luxury. When I first started working with what we call these community partners, like the Refuge, like social services, I remember a social worker saying to me that very often they'd go into somebody's home, and your instinct would be that there's neglect going on here. But actually, it's the mere fact that household cleaning products come even lower down on the list of what you can afford to buy. You know, first you've got your housing, then you've got food, then you've got your personal hygiene, and way down here you've got household cleaning. So this in itself is a privileged situation to be even talking about household cleaning products. So really that's the Hygiene Bank, and that's how we work. We're trying to give people the opportunity to be able to participate and contribute to society, because what hygiene poverty is, having come out of a pandemic, it's an enforced lockdown. As Ruth was saying, you know, people are very ashamed, people won't leave their homes. You know, it struck me a few winters ago when I was, you know, washing endless rugby kit for my son, that if I couldn't afford to run a washing machine or buy laundry detergent, how that would impact his ability to participate in sports. And that ability to participate in sport is how he interacts with his peers. And so hygiene poverty has so many knock-on effects. It's not being able to brush your teeth. The very first time I took a load of product down to my food bank, Mum came up and said, "Oh, can we have some of this stuff?" And she had 2 children with her. And she turned to her 2 children, and this has never left me. And she said, "Oh, you can have a toothbrush each." And that just struck me as incomprehensible, that we're the 5th wealthiest economy in the world, and yet we have 3.1 million people struggling in hygiene poverty. And there will always be a sort of a level in society that struggle financially. But what we're finding is that it's this new category of the working poor. You know, work used to be a route out of poverty, and it no longer is. It's becoming a trap. And so there's a lot of work for us to do. But that's basically the Hygiene Bank in a nutshell.
So one of the people who is doing an amazing amount of that work on the ground is Emma. Emma, do you want to tell us about the Hygiene Bank Medway and how it's having an impact in that area?
Hi, so I'm Emma, and I'm the volunteer project coordinator for the Hygiene Bank Medway. I started the project from my garage just over 3 years ago now, and it's just continued to grow. We've got public drop-off points all over the Medway towns, and we encourage local people to donate their products, new or unused hygiene and cleaning products. And then we work with a network of over 70 charity and community partners, which consist of local schools, food banks, homeless shelters, domestic violence shelters, council-run family hubs. They work with the people that really need it, so we deliver to them, and then they give it out to those that need it. I've got a small team of volunteers, all voluntary based. They just want to do some good in their local community, as that's why I got involved. And it feels good to know that everything that's donated locally is helping local people. So we work hard, we push hard to get more and more donations, but need is rising, and we are struggling to cope at the moment. But volunteering for the local project gives as much back to me as I do for the project. It feels good to know that I'm very proud to know that the project is really making a difference, and we are fighting hygiene poverty and raising awareness that it's a real issue for many of us in our local community. But it's just not right. Everyone deserves to feel clean. But it's becoming more of an uphill battle as need rises, and because of the cost of living crisis on its way up, our donations have dropped off, so we're having to try and work hard to get, so the donations have dropped off, but the need is rising, so it's getting harder, but we're doing our best. But it's a wonderful charity to volunteer for because it's flexible. It can be done around my family. The volunteers do it when they can, when they can give some of their valuable time. They make self-care packs up at home, so it doesn't have to be in one place or on a set time. It's wonderful. I love it.
I'd say that by supporting the Hygiene Bank, you're not supporting one charity. You're supporting all the areas of need, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's child poverty, whether it's food poverty. We work with the NHS Trust, we work with social services, we work with care leavers. This was a statistic that blew my mind. By the time an average care leaver leaves the system at 18, they'll have gone through somewhere between 8 and 10 placements, and then somewhere between 6 and 18 months of them leaving care, 1/3 will be homeless. So whatever your sort of passion is, if you have a leaning towards a particular demographic group of need, we work within that. We work with those people. So by supporting the Hygiene Bank, you're not just supporting one organisation. You're supporting hundreds of grassroots organisations. How many do we work with now? 2,000 or
something
over
like
2,000 organisations throughout the UK, working with people that are struggling and in crisis for whatever reason that may be.
But also with that need growing, so of those 2,000 organisations we're supporting, we have a waiting list of over 500 that we can't meet the need for yet. So for that, we need donations, we need money, we need volunteers, we need community partners. I think we should take some questions from the audience, if there are any. Thank you so much, both. Are there any questions?
Sorry, I was too busy playing with your baby.
I'm also sorry, you can see my eyes darting, like my 15-month-old is over there, and I'm just waiting for him to...
And he's got the most gorgeous smile. Right, any questions?
Hello, my sister runs a homeless hub. Do you supply hygiene products to the homeless as well, or are they just, you do?
Absolutely, yeah. So the best mechanism for her to sort of link up with us would be to go to our website, which is thehygienebank.com. There she can find her local community project like the one that Emma runs, and by getting in touch with them, she'll be able to find out if we can get supply product.
Yeah, I do, because I've never asked her if they supply the homeless.
Yeah, it's very, very much, again, it's this sort of model we have of all these grassroots community projects, and because they know their communities best, they know the need in their communities, they can link up with the right, the organisations to get the product to where it's needed the most, whether it's a homeless shelter, a food bank. We've got an increasing number of schools on our list who are supplying products directly to their families because obviously they know their situation kind of really, really clearly. So yeah, best to link up the local community project and we can get you the details for that if that helps.
Yep.
Any more questions? Yeah.
Hi, I was just wondering about things like hairbrushes and combs, whether they are, and the other one I was wondering about is things like nappies for children and whether you're involved in any of those.
Yeah, nappies is a really big deal, and again, like massive increasing demand for that. Nappies, wipes. I think of those statistics, it is particularly the ethnic minority families who are twice as likely to be going without period products or family products like nappies and baby wipes as well. It's a huge deal. Is that something?
Nappies is massive. It's one of the things at the beginning, hearing stories of mums scraping out the contents of a nappy to then reapply it because they can't afford as many nappies as they need. And our sort of basic remit on what products we take, it's excuse me, if you need it and you use it, chances are somebody else needs and uses it too. That's what we say. And so it can go right down to things like makeup. You know, for a lot of teens especially, you know, they need or they want makeup to be able to present themselves in the way that they feel most confident. And that's not saying that makeup's not important. For many people, it is. And so that's an equally valid item. You know, we have stories of predominantly women, but not necessarily, you know, going to use the testers in Boots before going for an interview because they can't afford it themselves. So all of the, if you use and need it, chances are somebody else does too. All we say is that it's new and unused.
But nappies, we can take part packs. Nappies is one thing we do take part packs, yeah. So if your child's grown out and you've got left over, we do take part packs and redistribute those.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And hairbrushes as well, actually. Definitely. We make up self-care kits that can provide everything, all the basics in it. But we like to put a hairbrush in and maybe some makeup if we've got it, because it's a slightly more luxury item. But it goes beyond just providing the basic. It kind of shows you care and we're here for you. And just we should never underestimate the impact of giving that to someone, because it just makes them feel better about themselves. So we like to provide a whole kit if we can.
Definitely. Any more questions? I think I've got a question. I was wondering what one thing could we do this week to help you guys?
Amazing. I would say 3 things, because there are a number of ways you can work with us in the way that suits you the best. So number 1, donate. You can you come over to our stand, which is F15. There's a raffle you can enter as well. I think you can win a Hoover or something, so get yourself down there. But yeah, donate. You know, we're a charity. We need to run, and as we said, the need is increasing. Donate product. So there are over 950 drop-off points around the country. So if you're doing your normal shop and you just buy an extra bottle of shampoo, an extra deodorant, an extra something that you use, find your nearest drop-off point. 550 of those are in Boots stores, which is obviously a really easy way to do it, but there might be another one more local to you too. So donate product, and then think about volunteering. Again, with the need going up in the way that it is, come and be the next Emma, come and be like the next sort of fantastic person, because it is a grassroots movement. It is run by volunteers. They are working in their local communities, and it's not just a brilliant thing to do. I think, as Emma has said, it is also a really life-enriching thing to do as well. So think about those 3 things you can do for us.
I'd add a 4th, actually, which doesn't cost anybody anything, and it's go home and tell one person about something that you've learned today, because hygiene poverty is something that people don't know about. And as I said, before I watched that film, I, Daniel Blake, I'd never made the association between not affording food and not affording some of the very basic things that we use. And what we've found, and I think this is why we've grown so quickly, is that it is a bit of a light bulb moment. It seems really obvious, but actually, if you can't afford this and you can't afford that, so, you know, awareness that this is an issue, and a growing issue, and a hidden issue, because it's an embarrassing and it's shameful, and people don't want to admit that they can't afford something. So this is what we find. People lock themselves away rather than say, I can't afford, I can't come out because I can't afford to wash, or my hair's greasy, or I haven't got deodorant, or I haven't got period products. So if there's one thing that you could all do, it's go and tell somebody about what you've learned, because it's only by a collective awareness and a voice rising up of that this is not right, and that this exists. This exists in your workplace, in your town, even in the affluent towns. You know, I live in Sevenoaks in Kent, which is considered quite affluent. We've got 2 food banks. We've got 2 refuges. You know, even in this isn't even areas of deprivation. So if there's one thing, it's go and tell people that this exists.
Yeah. And big social media presence as well. So tweet away, Insta away. There we are.
And also, if you want to find a local drop-off or a local project, you can go to the main Hygiene Bank website, put in your postcode, and it will tell you your local project and the nearest donation points to you if you want to donate.
Fantastic. Any more questions? Well, so much to think about there. And one thing I was just thinking of, you go to the supermarket, buy one, get one free. We're all talking about decluttering, tidying up. Well, rather than keeping the second one, what a great way to put that into an amazing cause. So thank you very much, guys. That was really fascinating and so much for us to think about there as well.
And
Let's
come
go.
see it as our stand and we can talk more. Thank you.
Whereabouts is your stand?
F15 over on the top right-hand side.
F15 up there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.